just the name of our show.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Todd.
I'm Terry.
And this is The Large Glass. Welcome. And this
is Maybe.
We decided we were going to introduce you to her first thing. No surprises. She's brand new.
She's brand new.
And by brand new, we mean she's about 9 weeks old. She's 9 weeks old. Yeah. So we thought we would show her off. We're going to put her right up to the camera. Look at that. There she is. She's saying hi. There's Pumpkin Audrey in the chat. Audrey maybe says hello. She's like, Happy New Year. All right, enough of that. So Terry is going to, anybody who joins late today is just going to miss out on maybe, but you can catch that on the YouTube recording of this. Mm-hmm. There's Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Good to see you. So Terry is going to take maybe in a few minutes, I think.
Go ahead and take her up, I think.
She's going to get crated because she kind of needs to go have her rest. Oh my gosh, there's Kelly Gordon. Hey, stranger. Good to see you, Kelly. I noticed that you followed earlier, so thanks for that. And there's Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. Nice to see you. Did you miss anything? You only missed one thing, Carolyn. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this, Carolyn?
Your face.
Oh, wait, I gotta get my face. This is Maybe. And Maybe is new. And she's gonna go up to her crate now. There's Toothless with her. Hi, Toothless. Good to see everybody tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're excited. But Maybe's gonna go to bed now.
She's gonna go to bed, so I'll be right back.
So Terry's gonna vanish for a few minutes, and I am going to. Do you want me to pour some champagne?
Yeah, pour some champagne.
Okay. So, I'm all alone. Now I can do crazy stuff. So it's New Year's, or almost, and we can't get to it fast enough. We really want this to happen. We want to say goodbye. We not only want to say goodbye to 2020, but we want to say some pretty nasty things to 2020. Some good has come out of 2020, very little. I think it's good to kind of look for that, try and figure out what we can find that was good. Terry and I started this show because of 2020. And I think that's definitely a good thing. So that's one plus. Makes me nervous opening a bottle of Prosecco with explosive potential around all this equipment. You back? Come on in. Why are you scared? Because of the bottle? Yeah, I always mess these things up sometimes. Hold Me Monster is here. Oh my gosh, hey, how are you? This is great. I've got some people showing up here that we haven't seen before or haven't seen in a long time, so thank you for that. So, look at Terry ducking. You would think I was pointing the bottle at her.
Just shoot it over there somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
In the audience, please.
Oh, into the audience. Okay.
Over behind us.
I'm not going to shoot it at all. I'm just going to ease the cork out nice and gentle. Should we do a little ASMR?
Yes.
Oh, we love ASMR,
noise.
Right? I'm Grant. Good seeing you. Yeah, welcome. Thank you. All right, here's a little pop. Here we go. Ready? Just a little one. Nothing crazy. Here we go. Ooh,
oh yeah.
That was nice. All right, now, little Lamarca. Pretty standard issue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here we go. Let's see if we can get a little sound out of this. Ready? A little sound therapy is appropriate for tonight.
Thank you.
Because tonight's episode we're calling Let's Make Some Noise. And let's say, Hold Me Monster, like, yes, give me the sounds. I will say this, headphones for tonight's show would be a good option if you can wear them, because we've got some interesting videos that we're going to show you of some sound pieces. And I found that while I was doing all the editing for this tonight and getting ready that the sound element's really good. You're waiting for me to say, go to hell 2020. Welcome 2021.
I think we're all waiting for you to say that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, everybody. Well, get out something to drink, for crying out loud. Sometimes our mics go out. Yeah, thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Whenever that announcement box, that alert box does something new, it for some reason cuts out our microphones, but we know how to fix that. So, and Carolyn says, how funny. I'm actually using my new headphones.
Oh,
Good.
yes.
I never tire of that sound. Yeah, I know. That's a good sound. So yeah, we want to make some noise tonight, and we want to bring some noise makers to you guys.
Yeah, because it's New Year's and noisemakers are a thing.
I did a little research around noisemakers.
Did you?
Yeah.
What'd you find?
I don't want to talk about them right now.
No?
What about New Year's resolutions?
New Year's resolutions. Oh my goodness. Well, one thing that we do every year is that we make predictions, and I think one of my New Year's resolutions is to not make those predictions anymore, especially after this year, because that was kind of rough.
This isn't funny.
No, it's not funny at all.
Well, you want to know what? This was before COVID. We used to do these things before COVID, and now
COVID, and it seemed like the likelihood of it happening was
slim,
and that was the mildly amusing part.
Let's tell them what we're talking about.
Sure.
In the past, we used to, on New Year's Eve, try to make predictions about what celebrities we might lose in the upcoming year.
Well, it was that we made a lot of predictions. We tried to predict what would happen politically,
Correct.
personally.
Correct.
If someone would die, like all those predictions.
Audrey says people die when Terry predicts things.
This was a very accurate year, unfortunately, with those predictions.
But if you were so what started this was in 2016.
Yeah.
We lost so many prominent musicians. That was like one of the years. That's the year David Bowie died.
Is that the year Carrie Fisher died? Because there was one year it was George Michael.
Oh my God,
Carrie
it was awful.
Fisher,
Prince,
Bowie. There was
Prince,
all these people
George
dying,
Michael. It was awful.
and that's how that started.
Right. So we were like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about it, but who are we going to lose? And we're like, let's write it down.
Let's
and then
write it down.
We would put it in an envelope.
In an envelope, and then the following year we'd
pack it away with the decorations, and then we'd open the decorations.
Yeah.
And so last year, not knowing COVID was coming, we did this again.
Yeah.
And then we were starting to lose some prominent people, and Terry's like, oh my God, I had them on my list. Oh my God, I had them. And we're like, we're never doing this again.
No, we're not going to do it
We're
anymore.
not. It's just...
So that's my New Year's resolution. I'm not going to put that energy out in the world anymore.
I think that's a wise idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a wise idea. I don't like that we did that now.
I don't like that we did that either.
And here we are admitting it to everybody that's watching us live.
We're terrible people.
They're all watch them all. They're all gonna leave.
Ding, ding. So anyway.
Well, okay.
What's yours?
Well, I have a couple, and actually one of them I thought about and I want to use for part of what I talk about tonight on some level, and that's about curiosity and being more curious. And what I mean by curious isn't like a surface level curiosity, but more of a deeper dive curiosity. Okay. And I thought about that in what we're presenting tonight, which, as many of you know, like when we do this show and we bring these artists to you, in the past, we've sort of tested the waters on certain types of art, and some get warmer receptions than others, right? And we're really trying, we're trying to casually function as educators on some level here. I mean, I professionally am an educator, as you know, but we're also trying to kind of like bring you something you otherwise wouldn't see and have a conversation at the same time. So sometimes things are not warmly received, and we've kind of like thought about that. So tonight, we've got two people to show you, one of which could be or might normally be one of those artists that might not be warmly received by people who don't, dig in a little.
Yeah, he's hard to understand. If you're looking at him on a superficial level, I think people would think he's mad, and he might very well be.
Like insane mad.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a real beauty in what he does.
I think so.
And in what he creates.
But we're going to pair him with somebody who contrasts, who is, it's one of those wow factor people that is on the same wavelength, I feel, but so much more easily acceptable in the average person's eyes, right? And so I think it's good to pair these types of situations so that you can kind of see where they differ and where your perceptions might need a little tuning. And that's what I'm talking about with my own curiosity, is that, maybe my taste can be based around my curiosity rather than my taste just being about what I like. which is what I do anyway, right? But I'm going to try and make that something I teach people, right? Is to allow curiosity to be what drives your taste. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. But so that's one of mine. I do not have any New Year's resolutions for losing weight, although I should. I don't have anything about going to a gym.
Well, I'm going to try to be a little healthier, especially after this Christmas cookie fiasco. So,
well, good luck with that.
Cheers.
Yeah, good luck. Okay. So, do you want to start talking about something? As you guys know, just really quickly, number one, this is episode 16 for us. We have after tonight, we'll have put 16 of these away, which we're really proud of.
Yes, and actually talking about New Year's resolutions, Todd and I were talking about a resolution in terms of the show for next year. And I think it's great. We're gonna aim for 52 episodes. That's our New Year's resolution.
52 so every week without fail.
Without fail.
Correct.
So no matter what's going on, we're gonna somehow try.
And on top of that, as if we could find any more time to squeak out of the schedule we have right now. In the spring, we've talked about before, we've got Teeny's Bar, which is coming online. We're going to actually be using that for exhibitions. We're going to be using that for a variety of other functions. So we're excited about that. But we also want to start exploring the idea of doing a plein air painting stream. So live from the field, while one of us or both of us are painting, we want to set up an actual live stream. And so that's going to require a lot of research in terms of, like 5G connections. It requires a lot of power to do this. And to do that remotely in the field can be done, but we've got to kind of look around and see what the capabilities are.
Yeah.
But if we can do that, we're going to bring that to you on a different day of the week. So stay tuned for that, because if it's beautiful outside and we're out there painting, why would you want to be outside? You'd want to be inside watching us be outside. All right, I'll stop. Mom says, that sounds amazing. Thanks, Mom. You're a good supporter. All right, so where were we going? 52 episodes.
52 episodes.
And I was just going to talk a little bit about supporting us, which you can do. Right? There are lots of ways to support us. So you could become a subscriber of this channel. And if you're not going to be a subscriber, fine. At least follow. And if you follow, spread the word, because our primary goal right now is to just get people to come and see us, right? But you can become a subscriber, you can donate to the channel, and you can also do things like share bits and all that other good stuff. But that's Twitch language.
I'm trying to talk Todd into giving away one of his cabinet cards for that 10 subscriber mark, because I think that would be that would be really cool. They're gorgeous, and especially with them framed the way that you're framing them right now.
Thank you.
So pretty.
I may do that. As a matter of fact, we are going to do that. Carolyn says, I love that resolution. I look forward to your show every week. Thank you. We look forward to having you every week. We're going to be doing an Instagram giveaway, actually, that's going to be paired with a promotion for the channel, where if you post our story to your story or post our post to your story, that's a lot of redundancy, you'll be entered in a giveaway for one of my cabinet card pieces that we will send to you. But stay tuned for that. That's not happening just yet. That'll be next week. Okay. So why don't we start talking about art and artists before we get too far down this other rabbit hole?
Sure, we can do that.
All right.
Well, we have two artists tonight.
Both based around sound.
There is a visual appeal to both artists as well, although they're very different, and you will see that. I think when you were showing me the first person's Instagram, and we were thinking of a New Year's show with the noisemakers, because truly his music is...
Music's, I love that you're using music.
Noise. And, well, some of the pieces that he does, I mean, there's a little bit of everything. It's performance art. It's sometimes it's installation. Sometimes
it's sculpture.
It's sculpture.
Yep.
There's a lot of things going on. He uses found objects.
Garbage.
Mostly discarded things. Sometimes it emulates sounds in nature. Sometimes he does pull some natural elements into it. I'm thinking like the walnut shells and stuff like that.
Right.
But he's not somebody that I think a lot of people would look at from a very artistic standpoint. They might actually think he's crazy.
Yeah, crazy is a word that's tough to throw around. That's a hard one.
Tough to throw around.
But, one of the things I just wanted to mention really quick is why we're doing this tonight. I mean, yes, let's make some noise, noisemakers, New Year's, and we kind of draw those connections. But I think the other thing is there is this kind of connection between, what role or function? I tried to look up what role or function do the noisemakers we use on New Year's Eve play in that festivity, that celebration. Okay. What are they there for? And I thought, I'm probably going to find something about driving away spirits. I'm probably going to find something about some kind of spiritual connection, which I did. There is some of that in there. But this is a very, very strange, disconnected kind of history that goes back to these ratchet grinders. Right, and this is just to give you a quick history of why these things exist in terms of New Year's Eve, because they've been used in a variety of capacities throughout religious history. Right, so these ratchets, those things we kind of spin and they go zzz, right? They sort of initially came about in different religions for different reasons. So they came about in Christianity because there was something about ringing bells was disrespectful in the days leading up to Easter. And they needed a different way to sort of alert parishioners that something was going on. And so they developed this clapping device, and it was called, and I'm going to forget now because I don't have my notes in front of me, but it has a name, okay? In Jewish tradition, it is used in another holiday celebration where its noise is meant to drown out the name of a person who is read in the scripture, and they don't want the noise, they don't want the name to be heard, but the name has to be heard. And so there are these really, really interesting connections for how those things apply. So in some respects, it's to alert people. In other respects, it's to drown something out. It was also used as an alert during wartime to alert soldiers that there was poisonous gas in the air. And it was very audible, right? Now, most of these were replaced with things like whistles or electronic devices as electricity became available. But the noisemaker through history has a very, very varied use kind of history to it, which is really quite interesting. And I can't find a direct line that goes to one particular thing. So when we get to what we're going to show tonight, I feel like that's a perfect match, because sound and the way these artists use it comes from a whole bunch of different areas, right? And you just mentioned with the first artist we're about to show, this notion of music, but I'm saying noise and you're saying music, right? And there's a connection between these two, actually.
Right.
And so I can't help but bring up John Cage, right? So John Cage was a modernist composer, modernist into postmodern era composer. He was minimalist, right? He was part of what we might refer to as the avant-garde composers. And he once said that music is the presence and absence of sound in time. Okay? That sounds like it includes everything. So technically what I'm doing right now is music.
Right. Well, I think there's certain measuring factors with the time, right? Because you have rhythm and you have cadence. And I mean, if you're going to talk certain genres of music that are a little bit more complicated, I'm thinking jazz and such like that.
Totally.
But that's kind of, and then just the harmony with the different sounds being made at the same time.
Well, and you're absolutely right, because that's how we all think about music. But if you take Cage and you put him in the same arena as some of the minimalist artists of the time, they were reducing art in respective fields, whether that was painting or sculpture, to its bare essence, right? And so look at painting, right? They were basically reducing our painting to surface and maybe what could be referred to as a mark on the surface, right? And so, you have somebody like, I'm going to back up and come back to this as soon as it pops in. You know how I do this, I forget, and then I scream it out. Anyway, in minimalism, right, you take out all those things, because what's rhythm and harmony and, timbre and all of those things that we refer to in music, it's like composition, it's like color harmonies and theory and all that stuff. But if you reduce that, You could take all that away. Presence and absence of sound. With painting, what do you have? You have surface and something on that surface. Let's talk about an artist, shall we?
Yes.
All right, let's look at somebody. So we have to start.
His name is Petr
Valek. Petr Valek, also known as?
Well, he's known as B. Vape. Noise.
The vape noise. Also known as Petr Valek.
Yes, and he's got Instagram and YouTube channels, and that's usually where he produces some of his compositions.
Very true. Very true. I just want to make sure I'm on the right overlay before I get there.
Gordon mentioned Philip Glass, which is what Todd was actually talking about right before the show.
Thank you, Kelly, because Philip Glass is actually on my list of things to talk about tonight, especially when we see these two artists. I'm bringing him up. John Cage and Philip Glass are beautifully but diametrically opposed on some levels, right? And I love those two pitted against one another. All right, I'm going to switch the screen. You might see a black screen for a second, but don't panic. Oh no, we're going to see this screen. Fantastic. Let's see if I can get this. Well, so what's been happening lately is my window capture has been doing this funny thing, and I don't understand why. But we're just going to go to this lovely picture of my desktop background first, and then we're going to pull up what it is we need, which is this. Cool. And then it doesn't show up here, and I'm not sure why. But something is wrong with our screen. Once again, let me work this out. Terry, why don't you tell us a little bit about Petr Valek while I fix our screen?
Sure. Well, he was born in 1976. He actually has an interesting background. No formal art training from what I could discern, but I believe he was a stonemason at one point in his life. And he actually was also a nurse.
He was a nurse?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was a nurse in a home for the elderly.
That's fantastic.
So he's from the Czech Republic. And usually what he does is he does these electromechanical instruments. We're going to see one right now, and it's really cool. He usually composes a lot of found objects to create both the instrument and the sound, and we're going to watch right now.
We are, but keep this in mind before we go to this. Keep in mind this notion of curiosity, and allow your curiosity, your desire to know something, allow that to drive this, because this thing, honestly, is pretty messed up, okay? But hang with us for a few minutes, okay? Don't go away. All right, let's take a look at this piece working. So you're getting a basic idea here. We don't have to run this one for very long. This is called Zen Gramophone version 2. Now, for those of you that might be more audiophile inclined, I know there's a couple of you out there, this is probably making your skin crawl. The arm, or essentially what is the arm and stylus on this gramophone, is heavily mic'd with a piezo mic. That's a contact microphone that, through the use of those binder clips, is attached to that what looks to be a chopstick. The wire attaches to that piezo mic, and it actually picks up vibrational energy through whatever's transferred through that, and then it is sent into some form of amplification device. And so, yeah, you've got this really crude, rough wheel that is just, you're looking at sound in a very different way here. And then there's this strange baby lane in the middle of it, but we don't even need to go into that necessarily.
Well, you could go into that. That's a big part of this whole thing.
Go ahead.
Well, it is. I mean, because, okay, so when we're looking at this, we're like, wow, it's a bunch of junk all binder clipped together, and what's going on here? But if you really think about it, there's such a bigger metaphor going on. We've got this little infant, fetal position, classic, in the middle of all of this noise and this trash and pollution and such. And I feel like it's really representative, obviously, of the womb and all the things going on around the baby and around life itself. And yet there's a certain harmony and beauty to it, but yet it's a hot mess and everything is precariously, but not precariously, placed together.
Well,
So there, I don't think it's to, because I know we're looking at this from a noise perspective. The visual aspects of this are really important.
well, and I would also say that let's look at the absurdist level for a minute, right? And how he defies all the systems in that. What do you have? You have a gramophone. He mentions it's a gramophone, right? Well, a gramophone takes a carefully pressed disc of material that has a system of grooves in it that relays sound vibrationally through a needle and up through some kind of amplification device. In a gramophone, it's that big horn, right? And in a current day stereo system, it's through some other amplification device. But all of those things require care and precision in order to replicate a sound. Nobody goes out and puts a wooden disc like this on their record player. And so he tears that down. Yeah. He's deconstructing that entire system and doing something different with it.
He is. But can we go to the ASMR of this too? If you were to listen to that for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I bet it would really calm you down and put you into trance mode, which is kind of what's going on inside the womb too. To go back there, the fetus is listening to the mother's heartbeat and the sound and all those things, and it's kind of like the background noise. This is replicating something similar in that context. Like it's replicating a background noise that it's very soothing. If you listen to it again, and like if you're looking at it and you're thinking about it, it's a piece of tin dragging across some old scratched up wood. And it probably, you start thinking about nails against a chalkboard.
Yeah.
But when you close your eyes and you listen to it, you get transported a little bit.
Sure. Dave says he put the baby to sleep with this sound. And he kind of did.
He kind of did.
And you bring something up, you say, look at the ASMR of this. And if you look at the fact that this video is a minute long, but let's say you did it for 20. Go back to John Cage for a second. He actually said once, and I'll butcher this quote, this is not exactly what he said, but he said something to the effect of, if you do something for 2 minutes and you find it to be uninteresting, do it for 4. And if it's still uninteresting, do it for 8 or 16 or 32. And once you've done it for that long, you will find that it is not at all uninteresting, that you're going to find things. This kind of goes back to that whole idea that boredom is good, right? Because something that's uninteresting is boring.
Right.
Do that long enough and you will dig into that, which I find to be fascinating. Let's look at another one of his. Okay. Here is another. I'm going to have to keep resizing this screen because I go through all this work to get these screens placed properly. That's part of my routine on Tuesday. And then my streaming software goes and messes that up. We won't say what that is because maybe one day they'll sponsor us and we don't want to make bad waves. Let's take a look at this one. That is him sitting on the ground there in that corridor. This is how I'm going to celebrate New Year's Eve. So a couple of things are going on here. I'm going to turn the volume down on this so we can talk at the same time the video is playing. One, I love the fact that these objects, these sculptures he's made are self-propelling, right? That's the first thing. They have a life of their own. I like the fact that some are unpredictable.
I like that too. It just fascinates me though because people are walking by.
Somebody's looking. He's looking.
But
I like him.
These objects are moving around on their own. And I think when you're walking by and you see a bunch of garbage going all over, there's like a lot going on here. Like, I love this clip because he's sitting there and these things just have a life of their own. Animated.
Ben says that one has a good beat. It does. All of a sudden. So here's the funny thing about that, Ben. That's a really interesting point because there's a built-in chaos to what these things do, and then all of a sudden that chaos begins to organize itself into something that becomes rhythmic, which is unexpected and really beautiful on some level.
And it's not like there's multiple things moving at the same time, and they're not synchronized together at all, like the two different things that were moving around, but yet they did create their own kind of music, because you were like, dun 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 dun. so you could kind of hear the music going along. I'm just shocked that more people didn't stop when they were walking by. Because like I said, I
would think everybody would. Mike Rader's here. Hi, Mike. Good to see you. He says, that's great. I love that it's built for repetition. Yeah. And I think that the more of these he kind of brings into the picture, the more interesting that can become. But the funny thing about him is just as he seems to get to that point, he'll reverse that and he'll do something else. I mean, there's a bunch of his work, if you go and look it up after the show, and he titles them things like Etude Number 12.
Yes, so they have a musical title.
Correct.
So
to suggest that they're pieces of music.
But when you go back to that, the gramophone with the baby, that was called Zen. So it's almost like some of his titles are trying to suggest things too. So.
Right. And his use of common household everyday objects is also something that, he is finding music, he is finding the noise of everyday things that we don't consider, right? And that's one thing. The other thing about it I love is look at that device that's making this happen. He's got I'll shut up. You're like, Tom, stop talking. This is important. This is really important. It's okay to find the humor in this. It's okay to laugh at these. Like some people are like, oh, it's art. We have to be so serious. No, you don't. These are ridiculous. In one of the best ways. I love them for that. Mike, it was like, I love this. Yeah, I knew you'd love this, Mike. This is right up your alley.
Well, I just have to thought with the person, the sound to it, and also when you're watching the armature go around.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful visual line just making waves. Like visually, it's very appealing.
Right, but there's something about that object too, that the thing that's doing the moving, that I'm just totally in love with. It is an ugly object, but you want to know what? For me, that ugly is total beauty. I see that as being such a immediate, crude, honest kind of thing that's attacking that gorgeous teacup and it's saying no. It's a really sweet thing. It's got a personality to me. I'd buy this artwork. Ben's like, oh wait, Mike says I'd buy this artwork. I would totally buy this artwork. Ben says even better when faster. Then look at it. It just kind of slows down. All right, shut up. I'm sorry. God. So that's that one. We have a few more here. This one coming up. I love this one.
Love
this is
one.
A great piece. I love the performative side of this too. The fact the hand comes in. He's not afraid to kind of be part of his life. This is like. Right, and the other thing is again, the whole idea that something's going to develop a rhythm or that the chaotic aspect of this will somehow systematize itself, not here. Or maybe it does, but it's doing it on a level that's so far away from what we recognize as pattern and it's part of the scene. But the machine itself doesn't lack creativity. All right, let's look at another one. Let's see. Here's another one that I find. Here we go again. I got to move my screen. Let me get this in the right spot. This one is another Zen one. This is called Zen 1. Again, I think I find these to be so amusing comically. kit that is used in a garden. It's used to scare away predators. And it's a long piece of bamboo. This might be bamboo. And what it does is it fills with water until it peters down, and when it falls back, it slams on this metal thing, much like that, creates a sound that scares away predators. And so this is like a really, and it's also like a very zen, calming object in the garden, the trickling of the water, the slow fluid movement, all before it just goes bang. This is like that on crack. It's just, aggressive. Yeah, that's exactly right. It is. It's like that sort of flipping of the wheel that throws that up and down. It's going to be perfect for helping the FBI interrogate humans. Yeah, that could be. Let's see. Let's look at this. So the other thing this guy does that's really cool is he builds these really, really crude, almost post-apocalyptic synth engines that, through some kind of like oscilloscope or a oscillating kind of engine.
Before you play it, I love his etchings on the synth.
The drawing,
pad. Yeah, because he actually does his artwork on these musical instruments
these boxes.
Well. And you can see he's got the skull and crossbones. It looks like all old, and it's got a nice patina finish going on there. So, and then the speakers, I believe that they're homemade as well.
Oh, totally. So the way this object basically is going to work is you can see that there's a bunch of cables and some jacks, and what those basically are patch cables like you would use in a synthesizer, and those cables allow him to patch together different modular elements of electronic noise change. So like all kinds of different ways in which that oscillating sort of wavelength can be shifted and distorted and changed. So take a listen to this. I mean, this is genuine noise, okay? So bear with us. Here we go. I can't hear you aggressive. Kill me. Big time. All right, so let's not kill everybody with this one, but you get the idea on this. Now, I love that Kelly Gordon earlier said Philip Glass too, because I want to kind of bring that in before we move on to our next artist, because we've got a second artist to show you. And earlier, Kelly Gordon had mentioned in the chat Philip Glass when I was talking about John Cage. If Petr Valek, who we're talking about now, is the John Cage of our duo, meaning he sort of embraces the idea that music is the presence and absence of sound, and that anything can function as music, then our next artist would be the Philip Glass, because there's a much more elegant, refined, formulaic approach.
Very
Orderly.
Yes, and beautiful, very beautiful. This gentleman is also beautiful in his own right, but the contrast is going to be interesting, I think.
Now, for those of you who don't know who John Cage is, I know there's probably some of you out there who have never really heard a John Cage performance or heard his work. And, one of the things we have to worry about is copyright infringement when we're doing things. You've heard us get muted when we play music before. I'm going to play a John Cage piece, just a portion of it for you, that I guarantee you is not going to get DCIM'd, meaning we're not going to get whacked with some kind of digital music rights infringement. But let me just show you what that is. This is one of John Cage's most famous pieces. Now remember, John Cage is a minimalist. Keep that in mind. This is a piano piece that he did called 433. Let's take a look at that really, really quickly.
And now, a performance of John Cage's 433. Please welcome our soloist, William Marks.
Bear with us. This man is a virtuoso. This is the first movement of 3. You catching my drift? You picking up what I'm putting down? Oh, first movement's over. Second movement. And you guys get my point. So what Cage loved about a work like this is that every clearing of the throat in the audience, shuffling of the shoes, someone getting up to go to the bathroom, became part of a very chance-oriented composition.
Yes.
It's like it's different every time. And it has nothing to do with the piano player's abilities. And most of the time I'll play this for my students and they walk out of the room just pissed. Yeah, I know you get that.
No,
don't you?
I actually don't, because I was thinking back to the earlier piece that we saw, like with the walnuts and stuff like that. There's chance in that. There's some organization, there's some underlying concept, but you're really relying on what happens if you put a bunch of elements together and just let some things occur.
Yes,
they will.
And so here's what I wanted to point out too is Petr Valek's work, the crazy junk guy that we were just talking about. When there's this chaos that is sort of inherent in the work that's supposed to be producing this sound, when we listen long enough, we start to sort of hear or recognize repetition, pattern, rhythm, a beat, as Ben pointed out, right? And so chaos turns into a system.
It does.
In the next artist we're going to show you, whose name is Zimoun, Zimoun's work is all about that kind of system. But you know what comes out of that system? Chaos comes out of that system. And so it works in the other direction. It's really beautiful.
It's gorgeous
in that regard.
It really is.
I mean, yeah, the work is gorgeous, but I love the beauty of that kind of reversal of the intention, right? I love how that works. Now let's see if my screen's going to just totally bonk on this. So let me just do the best I can. I'm going to see if I can find this and make this work. So do you want to talk a little bit about Zimoun? You want to give us a little intro while I muck about with my screens?
So Zimoun is a Swiss artist and composer. He was born in 1977. He also had no formal arts training, but he has been known to exhibit work internationally. He's all over the world. He really works with raw industrial materials and elements like wires and speakers and stuff like that. So you're going to see like a lot of cardboard and metal, but you're going to see it finely organized with these other technical
It's simplistic. It's simplistic on one level, but blown out of proportion, just in terms of the quantity that's used, the way he grids that quantity off sometimes.
The composition.
The organization.
Yeah.
Right. And this video that I have is a compilation video of many of his works. Now, it's much too long to show on the show, but we're going to go through portions of it. And so we'll talk through it. You're going to kind of get the idea. This is a great one for headphones. Okay. So just let's take a listen and a look at this. Of course, why don't we just refresh the screen, because that would probably make that video run smoother. Here we go. Well, he's activating these spaces, right? He's activating them. These are just dead, inert, beautiful spaces, right? Sounds like a beautiful spring rain. Yeah. There's a part in this particular piece I want to talk about really quickly. And that is...
Can we pause it for a second?
Yeah, can we? Because let me just pause this for 1 second. What you have here basically is an enormous number of DC motors in the ceiling, the string that drops down, and a washer tied by the string. The DC motor is spinning the string, and the string in turn rotates that disc. Now, you would think, and it's repeated over and over and over again. It's a system. It is a simplistic system. But what happens? All of a sudden, these washers do this thing, I think, that was totally unexpected. But you watch, and they turn slowly on the ground, and then they lift up off the ground as they sort of become their own inertia, which is really quite beautiful. I just want to back it up for a second so you can see that. Watch the washers closely. Like this one that's just on the right of the screen right now is doing this spinning thing where it's not making sound. It's just spinning off the ground, and then it drops back down and slows down. And then it comes up again. And it's like a dance.
Well, it's also the strings and the shine on the metal. It emulates the rain falling.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
look at it, it looks like an animated representation of a rainfall when you look at it. It's organized, but then it's not. There's some things that have to change, like the way the metal is.
Right.
He does that a couple times. I love how he relies on industrial look and goes backwards and watch the sound.
Right. These are little felt balls on the ends of wires attached to the same DC motors with cardboard boxes. You can see the scale here. This one's just unbelievable.
This one's one of my favorites because it looks and sounds like that.
Who is this guy? This guy is Zimoun. Z-I-M-O-U-N. That is in stereo. Yeah, church bells, Audrey. Definitely.
Look at how beautiful it is, too. I would love to, and some of his compositions you can actually walk through.
Right.
And we'll see that in a little bit, but it's very sensual. You're engaging all of your senses, visually, sound. I'm sure in some areas where he uses bamboo and sticks, you can smell the wood.
Yes, that is string. You mean on the boxes? I believe you do. Absolutely, holding up, gotcha. I think if I were going to challenge you in this sort of presentation, you're welcome, totally. I'll put the name of the other one. Also, we always put links to these things in the YouTube video. I'll post that tomorrow. So you can find this broadcast tonight on YouTube, and any links that we use in this will be available in there. But I was going to say, I think if I could challenge all of you in something that we're looking at tonight is to try and draw parallels between this artist and the other artist. Mm-hmm. And there is such a stark difference from the sound to the aesthetics, but there's many similarities. And they create a spectrum of understanding. Like, this is an acoustic environment made with wood, scraping on wood, bouncing on wood, which is much like that piece with the record player, with the baby, right? It's just amplified differently. And the other thing I know we can't get that across today, no matter how well this is recorded, but to walk into that space and hear how that space is activated by those objects moving on that wall. Or look at this. This is just a stacked row in that massive cathedral-like space.
Well, I can also appreciate how it's presented in video format, because the videographers are very careful about
Right. Yeah, Ben's like, not just the sound, but the visual is amazing. Agreed. But if you remember that one we saw where it was the room of cardboard boxes with the felt balls, that cardboard is going to insulate that room to some degree, just in terms of acoustics. And so it's like there is this automatic kind of sound environment that enhances all of that. Audrey's like, my missing packages. Yes. Carolyn says, I'll be honest, this is much more pleasant to listen to. Yeah, and I'm assuming you mean over the other guy. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think the reason I'm creating that challenge about trying to draw the parallels between these two is to sort of momentarily, because we all want to be pleased. We all want to be satisfied, right? And I don't think Petr Valek's work is necessarily satisfying on the level we're used to. But as a curiosity, an endeavor of curiosity, there can be some satisfaction there, right?
This is much more, to me, it seems more playful, a little bit more, I don't want to say experimental, because this has experimental qualities. There's just something a little bit more rogue about his compositions compared to the finish on these.
Sure. Look at the shadow in that. Oh my God.
Look at that. That's gorgeous.
I kind of want to know, I believe when you walk into that room, you're underneath all of that. It's fantastic. At some level, these are like weird cathedrals. They really are. They're cathedral-like spaces. They activate that space in a very sort of transcendental kind of way, right? And you can think of it like that. Look at the uplifting kind of, let's look up. That's the whole job of the Gothic cathedral. Like, if you draw your eyes upward in the space, this does that. And the sound on top of that, just sort of immerses you in this. I think that's in a silo, actually. Look at that.
Wow. I wonder what when he's creating his, if he sees the space first and he's got pictures, this idea of what he can put in it with sound, the sound best.
That's a really good point. Yes, that's a great point. And I would have to venture a guess and say, of course he does, right? Are the spaces sterile with their smells? Yeah, that's a good question. And I would think that the materials certainly, that he would want them to be sterile with their smells, so that the materials kind of had that aspect of the sensory experience too. Oh, this one is ridiculous. I love this piece. Mike wants to know, are there moments of rest, silence in any of these? I don't know. I think part of it is about that cacophony, right?
This is packing.
Packing peanuts being blown around the interior of the space. Gorgeous. These are hot metal plates with IV bags.
And this almost has a couple of moments of silence as you're waiting for that drop to hit.
This is a very, very different vibe, though.
Oh, completely.
Broken Audrey said it looks like a bat wing. I think Audrey would probably like that IV bag one as well. These are taut wires that those felt balls are all beating against. And so they're all creating this resonance in the room. I love the machine. I love how simple the machine is. Well, I think what happens with these is the speeds. The speeds vary on these because what's happening is that DC motor is coiling that string up like a yo-yo string gets tangled after a while when you use it too much. And so what happens is they pull up and spin out. This is like a Tesla coil.
It looks electric.
It does look electric, yeah. And so this just keeps going, right? This guy's got an enormous body of work. We could watch this for another 20 minutes, I think, and it just keeps on going and going and going. Let's just see a few more. So, a couple of things I kind of want to bring up. I don't have any Philip Glass pieces to show, right? But I did find a funny tongue-in-cheek Philip Glass video that this musician made. And I don't like this kind of attitude that the musician has, but I think it's worth citing here. There's nothing worse than that museum patron who sees the Jackson Pollock and says, my kid could do that. That we're not even going to go there. Please don't ever do that. Just for, if you just hear my plea, because your kid can't do that. Okay, first of all, but that's a story for a different time. This musician made a video that basically said how to play music like Philip Glass. 1, 2, 3. Now, of course, you need to have some music theory to understand what this pianist was doing, but he was breaking down the notes and chords in various keys and rolling his fingers in different different measurements of time, and breaking it down. And it is essentially a formula that does sound very much like Philip Glass, if not the same formula he's used for many of his compositions. Fine. That formula to me feels like similar to the formula that Zimoun uses to make his work, right? The materials all sort of lie within a certain library of, they all have the DC motor, right? It's either felt or cardboard or wire or string or wood or metal, and the metals are usually discs, and he strays outside of that once in a while. Like, I didn't think the hot tin piece was too good, but
the hot tin piece,
the one where the water's dripping on the hot metal.
I thought it was okay. It was the thing with him, who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Oliveira when we did his compositions, and when he was doing he's the Brazilian artist we covered many episodes back, but he would do those very organic foams from like a deconstructed, reconstructed wood. It's like he was taking this wood that was taken away from nature and away from its natural environment, and he put it back into it. And when I look at the compositions here that Zimoun is doing, it's cardboard, it's metal, it's things from the earth, but he's trying to recreate a sound or some kind of visual feel that replicates nature. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was listening and watching his compositions.
Yeah, no, and I agree, but I think that parallel works for Enrique Oliveira as well as it does for Zimoun, in terms of you have a limitation that you place on what you do. And then you allow all the iterations within that limitation to play out. As you know, I mean, Zimoun is not afraid to use those DC motors over and over and over and over again.
That's what a lot of artists do. They find that medium. This is his medium.
Well, because but it's more than that, I think, and I totally agree. But I think what he's also trying to do is he's trying to extract every possible outcome. Right, he's really interested in the outcomes that present themselves from this limitation, which I love. Whereas Petr Valek is really much more about trying to sort of stretch on a different kind of wavelength.
Very different wavelength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I found one other thing I just wanted to read to everybody that I really, really like. And there is an author named Ian Leslie who wrote a book called Curious, The Desire to Know and Why Your Future Depends on It. And he breaks curiosity into 3 types of curiosity, which are interesting. There's diversive curiosity, there's epistemic curiosity, and there is empathetic curiosity. And so with diversive curiosity, it's the attraction to novelty. It's what encourages us to explore new places, people, and things. There's no method or process. This curiosity is just the beginning. It's also not always benign curiosity. High diversive curiosity is a risk factor for drug addiction and arson. Okay, so that's diversive. Then there's epistemic curiosity, and I think that's what we're trying to get at, or what I'm trying to get at here, and trying to see if I can get people to mold their tastes around their curiosities. And that is a deeper quest for knowledge. It represents the deepening of a simple seeking of newness into a directed attempt to build understanding. It's what happens when diversive curiosity grows up. This kind of curiosity requires effort. It's hard work, but it's also more rewarding. Petr Valek's work is hard work. Like looking at that is not eating the ice cream sandwich. That is eating the Brussels sprouts that might have been, I love Brussels sprouts, but you know what I mean? Like if you're going to pick one off the table, or if the kids are, it's going to be the ice cream sandwich because it's satisfying, it's easy, right? And Zimoun, the work is brilliant. Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's not brilliant.
Right.
Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not brilliant. I think there's brilliance in both of those things.
Yeah, I think Petr Valek pushes the limitations of beyond what something is supposed to do. And he's trying to see what it can do and what it creates. And when I think of him, they're both experimenting, but he's really just trying to push the boundaries and trying to recreate sounds and machines and objects. And it's more of like, ooh, what does this do? I like this, and it's kind of the sense that I'm getting from him.
And he might also be asking us to question what we feel is,
maybe.
He's like, you think you know what music is? No, let me show you what music is. Let me, how do you like this? And he there's that one, I'm not going to pull it up now because then I have to mess with my screens again, but there's another piece that he calls, what the heck is the name of that piece? Hold on, I'm going to find it. It's called kalimba. Well, kalimba. A kalimba is that sweet little hollow box with the little tines on it that you kind of play with your thumbs, and it makes that melodic, beautiful sound. I have one in the other room. Yeah. They're cute. So, but his kalimba is a series of springs, all these crazy springs that stick up out of this box that's amplified in a multitude of capacities, and he just starts smashing it with a pot lid.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. It's chaos. I love it.
I know you think it's horrible and chaos, but that reminds me of the music I grew up with. Like Nirvana did that on a couple of their songs. Like when I was listening to the kalimba, his kalimba, that's what it sounded like.
You said maybe. Is she sleeping? I would bet she's sleeping right now. Yeah. Some people are on here going, "Who's maybe?"
Who is is, maybe.
You got to watch the YouTube video tomorrow and go back to the beginning and see us introduce the baby.
The baby maybe.
Baby maybe is a dog, not a baby. Well, she's a baby, but not a.
She's baby.
She's not a human baby.
Right.
What do you mean the music you grew up with? You make me sound like I'm like 400 years old.
No, not everybody grew up with Nirvana. That's who I grew up with.
Anyway, so that's gonna kind of do it for us tonight.
That's it. That's gonna wrap up 2020 in a big, pretty package.
And what a beautiful way to do that, right?
Yeah.
We gave you noise and music that essentially is absurdity, and it comes from hell on a really cool level. Like it's really hard.
Yeah,
right?
Some of it is.
It's
but some of
hard.
it's not.
I thought it was hard. I like it hard.
It's
like that's
beautiful noise.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That was perfect. It's beautiful noise.
It's beautiful noise.
And then we gave you Zimoun, who is this whole other world that is absolutely the same world. They're two different places completely. Oh, there's Memory Vessel. She's like, so. Mike Rader says, Happy New Year. Great show. Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Fun show. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all of you.
To all of you.
We're going to see you guys in 2021, where, number one, we will look younger. We will feel better, right?
Yeah.
All of us will.
Yeah.
We won't look so.
It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
And I think that 52 episodes is a reasonable goal.
I think it is. We can do it.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it.
That's our New Year's resolution.
So we will see all of you for 52 consecutive episodes. Ben says, great show, guys. Memory Vessel throws a heart at us. Thank you. Good to see you. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you. Stay safe. Best of health and all that good stuff to you in the coming year. We really appreciate your support. We've loved bringing you this show. And Mom says, good vibes for 2021.
Good vibes.
And Happy New Year to all of you guys. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
All right. We will see you all very soon.